Shake off starts. Oh, what a LeBron James with no regard for human life. Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What up? What up? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name's Nick Engvall. I'm with my guy Robbie Falchi, and unfortunately, we got some complaining to do. We need to get some things straight. There's just some issues going on. Yeah. And we're just going to jump right into it. But I'll just say, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know Robbie and the guys like to give me a hard time for spending a bunch of money on shoes that are going to eventually go on sale. So we're going to talk about money and sneakers on this episode. And coming from a guy who knowingly wastes a lot of money on sneakers. But before we get into that, what's good, Robbie? How you been?
Hello, Sneaker Police. We have some robberies to report. We have some bona fide robberies to report. Copy. I'm good. I also would say don't pigeonhole yourself as you're somebody. I'm pretty sure all our listeners here are guilty of spending money on stuff they shouldn't be spending money on. But I'm good.
Well,
man.
You know, it comes back to that, like the Ghost Runner from a couple years ago that I think about every single time I'm about to pay full retail for a retro product that, like, the target market is like 6 other dudes my age, and it's like $200 for you know, or $150 for a retro runner that I shouldn't be spending that kind of money on. It's knowing difficult. Damn well that like every other color is going to land on a hash wall at that Nike outlet.
I can still see the bright yellow pair on sale in my brain. I mean, that's what's crazy, right? I think for so long we were consistently used to buying stuff on sale. And I think as the culture and the community and the thing that is sneakers has gotten bigger, less things go on sale. So people want to impulsively buy at retail, afraid that they might not be able to get it. The FOMO effect. So, I mean,
yeah, definitely.
Let's just start with that. So what triggered this whole conversation was on sneakers, the LeBron 2 Maccabee dropped a sample at the time in 2004. Gorgeous white and gold shoe. A lot of this sneakerheads like that shoe. Even if you don't like LeBron, you can look at the LeBron 2 Maccabee and be like, all right, that's a good looking shoe. I go to buy it. I'm a little bit late to the sneakers drop. There's still sizes. I'm like, oh, wow, I can still like get a pair. I go to push buy and I look at the price before I do, and it's $215 for the LeBron 2, which I believe is just double stacked, like the LeBron 3. I'm pretty sure it's just double stacked zoom, some leather, a strap. Not a lot going on there for a 2004 shoe that retailed at that time for $125. So you're telling me from 2004 to 2022, there's been that big of an increase. What's 125 minus 215? $95, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, I did the exact same thing. I literally logged in, saw the price, and was like, well, let me go in the Discord and see if anybody's actually buying these. And then I saw you had posted, and we're like, $215?
Tripping. It's big tripping. And let's just preface, Nick and I have bigger feet. So the size 12 and 13 in those LeBron retros tend to leave shelves faster. But the LeBron retro price point is out of whack. Like, that shoe, by and large, is going on sale. Like the LeBron 2 Sprite. LeBron 8 V2 Sprites. Those are like $180, $190. I think they were $160 when they dropped initially. It's just like... It's tough.
Yeah, and both those shoes for me are super nostalgic, right? Like, I didn't get the Sprites the first time around like an idiot. I should have bought them. The LeBron 2, you know, that the story behind that shoe is it's a like crazy collector's PE, right? Like, it's if you're into like collecting PEs in that era or any time in the last 20, 30 years, I would say it's up there in terms of like probably top 10, top 20 LeBrons of all time for those like diehard collectors, which is the perfect storm. Both of those things are typically the perfect storm for me to spend full retail on a shoe. And that's the weirdest part about it. When I saw that 215, I was like, I can't even like, I couldn't think of the price of the original, but I'm just like, that's not even close.
125.
Right? Like, if that's like 150, I probably pull the trigger and I'm probably keeping them, you know, like,
and you're happy.
And I'm happy with it. Yeah. Like that's the thing. It's not hard to like, especially for somebody or for people like me that are collectors that like really want to relive those moments or capture those shoes that got away the first time, you know, like you don't have to like, you can be happy spending the money. And I definitely am, you know, I don't think people should collect sneakers in the insane way that I have over the years, but I definitely am an advocate of like, buy the shoes that make you happy. And if that's $200 or $300, spend the money and just have like a more focused collection of shoes that really make you happy. But like a shoe like that, it's really hard to justify the money because the other part of it is like, you know, that there's more LeBron 2 colorways coming. So they're going to make their money back on whatever the production cost is for those shoes that seem to be what they're pushing along to the consumer, right?
And
but they're not the only ones doing it either. That's the crazy part.
No, they're far from it. And just the discrepancy of it. So a LeBron 9 low is 185. A LeBron, you know, which one is the aspirational LeBron shoe? Is it the 20 and the new flagship model, or is it the 215 LeBron 2? Because it's priced aspirationally, but it's leaps and bounds a worse shoe than the LeBron 20. This lightness, tech, you know, who knows how they actually play, but like 2022 versus 04, a lot has changed. But you're right. It's not just that brand. You know, you brought up 180 as a plausible price point. I think 180, 190 is for like the good stuff. You know, the good stuff is that should be the high end, because we have another egregious offender here. I obviously did pull the trigger on these because I was like, hey, you know what? Fuck it. I actually had a coupon code. $200 for an Air Jordan 5 low. Now, there's levels to this. It's Paris Saint-Germain. There has to be some type of royalty payout to PSG, right? Because why is this more than I think the Fire Red 3 was also 200. Did you buy the Fire Red 3?
I did not, but
I think
that's
it was 200 though.
A great call out, because like if that's like 175, 180, even 190, I probably pull the trigger. But by the time when you hit 200, something in my brain is just like, well, taxes, shipping, that's a $220, $230 purchase. Is it really worth it to me? And like, I mean, look, I saw your Robbie's Closet episode with those threes, and I was like, damn, I think I need to get these now. And by the time I saw them, they were in my size when I was on the sneakers app, and I was just like, nah, I can't do it.
2 bones.
Yeah. 2
bones is tough. And the 3 is the Fire Red 3 was 200. But then, I mean, it's just, it's tough, right? Because I mean, we're obviously all being a little finicky about it, right? How many shoes and how much dollar amount total of shoes do we have in the closet where it's like, is $25 really going to like break my ass when I spot another $100 pair of shoes next to the overpriced shoe I'm complaining about? So, it is what it is, but,
I think that's an interesting, and this has to be like the most troublesome thing for the brands to figure out, right? Because it's some sort of balance between like nostalgia, kicking off a new retro line, collaborations, like you're saying with PSG, royalties that are paid out there, and just like, kind of combating the secondary market in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. But like, to me, combating the secondary market actually hurts Nike and Jordan in the long run, because not everybody's willing to fork over $220, $240 for shoes that, like, we've had too many opportunities to buy these shoes throughout the years. So like for me specifically, like Jordan 3 is by far my favorite Jordan, but I've got a handful of them. I can't really, I would love to have every color that Michael wore kind of story, but like, am I really going to pull the trigger every time a new version with the Nike Air comes out? No, I've got 5 or 6, probably maybe 7 or 8 pairs of them. Yeah. I don't really need more of those at that price point. It's weird. Like maybe it's also an economic thing and just thinking about like, how much groceries are right now. But I just look at it and think like, as a brand, how do you not like, how do you even measure that, right? Because there's no way you really can tell what the actual consumer that wants this shoe will pay versus the people that are just going to buy it just because it's still there. And interestingly enough, I think, you know, to your point about the LeBron 20, that shoe looks beautiful. Everything I've seen about it, I absolutely want a pair. 200, 220, maybe even 250 is reasonable for that as a new shoe. And I think on the other side of the game, Adidas and the 4D stuff that you brought up before we started recording, that's the perfect example. I absolutely love the 4D stuff. Every pair that I've had has been super comfortable. I love the technology. I love seeing the technology evolve. So I'm actually happy to pay a higher price for that shoe because I know that it's getting invested into that technology, and that technology is going to spin off into the 3D printed stuff, right? Like, I mean, that LeBron 20 seems to have like some sort of a 3D printed knit on the upper, right? So like all these things, when you're spending that $300 or $400 on the early run 4D stuff, which I did not, I think I spent $250 on a pair, is the highest. But as that's evolved, now the retail price on 4D stuff is $200, $220. You can get the like half 3D printed stuff from Adidas on sale for like $60 to $100. Like, it is, to me, that's like a crazy opportunity for people to scoop up some actually interesting stuff. Maybe doesn't look aesthetically like, you know, trendy the way Panda Dunks do, but to me, it's like that's like the reason you would want it is because it looks different. It's going to get people talking. It's going to get people asking about it, and it's just a cool way to like almost support the industry with a purchase instead of just buying the same old stuff that we always buy.
That's a point I've never really thought about, like doing it, buying something to keep making sure that brands keep making new things, right? If no one buys anything new anymore, they're not going to make anything new anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think like we probably naturally do it with players that we like, right? LeBron, sometimes Jordan, and the, you know, like the 36, 37, that kind of stuff. Like for the longest time, I was trying to get every single Jordan that came out, the first, at least one of them, so I could have the newest version, because I want to be educated on it too. I have the reason to like experience it and be able to talk about it, but also just because, you know, you kind of just want to see it evolve and like to be able to have the hands-on experience with it. Even if you only wear it a couple times, it's still way different than just looking at pictures and stuff. But I think that the other part of that is like, you can tell the players that, like, you know, I'm probably one of the few people in the sneaker world that like likes Paul George. And I think those on like his line is actually super underrated in my opinion, but it's definitely not going to carry on because people just don't buy it. So it's kind of like, I forget who else just kind of stopped their line recently too, but yeah, it's interesting.
There's that angle where Nike is kind of just, Nike and Adidas really figuring out price points to maximize profits. And I'm not going to dog any of these brands because it's a staple of any industry. What's the max you can sell something for, and what's the max somebody will pay for it, and you want to try to, you know, make as much money as possible. Totally get it. But where brands like, I think you're talking about 4D tech, I would rather have $190 new On running shoe than $180 takedown Next Percent Nike running shoe, because that kind of is just like ultimately another drop in the bucket for Nike. How many of those shoes have they sold? And on top of that, those like the 4% line in particular, the Next Percent line, so confusing. There's so many price points and intricacies to that line where it's like, I'm never going to need the $250 double stack Zoom X exposed stuff because I'm never going to be that fast. I'm going to go do it for the sneaker culture and go pick up a pair of Ons because that's going to help propel other brands to keep trying new things. And when brands can't try new things, you know, they get stuck to a degree making the same retros over, you know, like Shaq Attack, hasn't come back in a very long time. This is a $180 shoe in 2022. Now, Reebok needs to keep pushing stuff like Shaq because that's a bread and butter. That's like a heritage brand. There's so many reasons why you can't push a workout the same way you can push a Shaq Attack to many people outside of footwear. Like These actually almost sold out on Reebok.com. This Shaq has so many fans. Shaq's a DJ. Shaq's an entrepreneur. Shaq does all these things. But you kind of have to price these at 180 to keep yourself alive. But is 180? I wouldn't pay 180 for the Shaq Attack. I pay 125 to 150. Like, and that's only $30 to the point of we have so many shoes. Why complain about it? But like, it ultimately is a shoe from 92. And I'd rather have
I think that's an interesting one too, because like when it came out in 2013, it was 160, and first time back, it's like, okay, that's probably reasonable. There's a big gap between the last release. I think there was like a super low key release in 2017, or if it even happened, but like, it's not like, going back to that Fire Red 3s thing, it's not like we're seeing 12 different versions of the Shaq Attack every year. It's like, okay, I might be able to convince myself to spend 160, 180 on a shoe that only comes around once every 10 years, but like, to your point, it's like, it doesn't make sense for retro products to be going that high, in my opinion, when generally speaking, you're going to fill the market full of colorways. Mm-hmm. And like, if you're looking at performance stuff, yeah, to your point, like I was thinking, as you were saying that, I'm thinking like the Saucony Endorphin Pro is a crazy shoe for $180, $200. Like, it's kind of like the Adidas Adios, what is it? The 10 or whatever. That's like, running shoes progress at a higher rate, in my opinion, than any other performance models. And I think that sometimes those new technologies can be justified to have like that crazy pricing, but it's also always going to come down over time, where like, for some reason, retro product is like not based on the technologies that are in the shoe. It's based on the hype or whatever. And it's like, they continue to go up, where there's just not, I can't imagine there's enough demand for it.
I want to say 86 or 88 is when the Pump 1 came out. Ozani Pump 2 was 89, I believe. So it would have had to been 88. But the Pump was worth 180, and to your point, at the time, like, people were paying for that. Now they're paying for Pump and Shaq. The feeling of it, the nostalgia of it, the everything of it. And, us not complaining, but it's voicing our opinions.
That also has real carbon fiber too, right?
Real.
I believe on the outside, which
on
is
the real.
Which is like not common in newer shoes.
No. And like, I love it. Like, I love the way the Shaq Attack looks. I've worn these like 4 days in a row. I really do enjoy these shoes. The price point really didn't keep me away that bad. But it's a bummer when like you're excited for something and you go to buy it, and maybe you're not going to get Chipotle after. Maybe you're not going to get Chipotle for 3 days after. I think Chipotle prices also feeling that inflation. But I mean,
I can't be sacrificing burritos, man.
Listeners, is this like sneaker inflation? Is this reaching for the dollar? Like, what do you think it is? We're no economists. Economists. E. coli. No. We don't know. I mean, there's got to be reasons. I like to hope that there's a reason why.
I think the other question I have for the listeners, at what point do you start saying, screw these like regular brands and I'm going to start buying like more premium brands, right? Like, at some point you're getting into like more luxury brands and high fashion brands at price points where, like, I feel like people naturally are going to make those decisions and start to lean. I know that people collect all sorts of sneakers, but like, I'm thinking of like, let's say like Adidas and the 4D stuff. When it came out at $350, I'd rather just buy a $400 Y3 shoe than a $350 Adidas shoe, So yeah. I feel like we're like really close to that, like tapping out point for a lot of people, but yeah, we'd definitely love to hear everybody's thoughts on that for sure.
I'm laughing because I forgot if it was like 195 or 190. He's like, if it was 190, I'm good, but 195, I can't do it. And I want to say it was 190, 195, but like, yeah.
It's so funny that we all have that cutoff though in our minds, right?
Yeah.
Like, clearly 200 for me is like too much for some reason, but then like chasing a shoe that I've chased for a long time that I know is not going to retro, that's a different story. I'm willing to go further for those shoes just to get them, you know, if I can't get them. But yeah, thank God for resellers, I guess, in that case, right? Because then people hang on to shoes and get rid of them, and you can get stuff that you slept on.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, this will be for another episode, but goddamn, those undefeated Kobe 4s that Devin Booker wore on Media Day.
Gorgeous.
So nice. Anyway, all right, that was a short episode, but we appreciate y'all rocking with us. I'm Nick Engvall. You can find me on all platforms at Nick Engvall. Robbie, how can they find you?
You can find me at RAHBEE702.
More importantly, just catch us at Sneaker History on all the platforms and hit the link in the description to join the Discord. Catch you on the next one. Peace.
Goodbye.